This video is about the Gothic classic continuity. The culture and history of the Orcs, while mostly unexplained, is fascinating to work through, and one might even argue that they are the superior species when compared to humanity. According to the teachings of Arcania, the Orcs existed before the rise of humanity. Originally created by Arcania, their ability to fight humans on equal footing made their species appetizing for Beliar. The god of darkness quickly claimed ownership of the Orcs and spread his beliefs among them. It is unclear when exactly this happened. All that is certain is that at the climax of the War of Gods, the Orcs already were servants of Beliar. Then, the big break happened. Some of the Orcs, which were closer to Beliar than the rest of their brothers, constructed portals to his realm and summoned horrifying beasts through them, often by sacrificing prisoners or themselves to accomplish it. As punishment of these deeds, the other Orcs banished the demon summoners to Khorinis or the Southern Isles. This part is just speculation, but one can conclude that they are forbidden to return to the continent, even after a millennium has passed. So grave was their sin. Ergo, when we talk about the Orcs, we need to separate them into two categories. The so-called Khorinis-Orcs, the descendants of the Banished, and the Mainland Orcs, who fought countless wars against the humans to claim Myrtana. Yet, it is unknown who originally settled in Myrtana. There is reason to believe that the Orcs were the original natives of Myrtana, but there's no conclusive evidence pointing towards it. Let us begin with the Mainland Orcs. Their culture is, simply speaking, a strict belief in strength. If you are strong, you will climb their ranks and earn respect. Whether it's through physical or magic power does not matter. Both are recognized by their culture. If you are the strongest of the Orcs, you will become their leader. Unlike their counterparts, the Mainland Orcs are sophisticated and technologically more advanced. All of them are capable of speaking both the Orcish and the human language, being able to develop complicated tactics to build houses, castles, ships, and a lot more. They don't attack on the spot either, unless they are in an active war zone. They will kill or torture those in service of the enemy, but civilians and women are taken as slaves. The weak among the prisoners are doomed to work as slaves until they die. The strong among the slaves have more fortune in life. By fighting in arenas, a part of their culture that is deeply honored, slaves can work up their way to become orc mercenaries or even buy their freedom, just like Zubin did. It all comes down to how much respect the orcs have for you. Being strong earns their respect, and you can expect privileges once they see you as their equal. Their enemies, however, have the worst fates by far. If they are not outright killed, they are taken prisoners, suffering through constant torture for information, and at the end, the prisoners are executed and made an example of. So maybe death is actually the easier way out in this case. The Mainland Orcs worship Beliar and gain his blessings in return. This makes these Orcs, who are physically superior to humans, who have an impressive navy to boot and a lot of magic knowledge at their disposal, among the most dangerous versions of the Orcs yet. Case in point, after a long and hard winter where they barely had any food for who knows how many years, they still worked on building up their army and invaded Myrtana. Not out of greed, but out of necessity. Ever since then, they've been giving King Robert II the boot to the ass constantly, despite having inferior technology. The Khorinis-Orcs, on the other hand, while also capable of building ships, war machinery, tents, weapons and the like, are less intelligent, and only a few of their shamans, their magic users, can speak the human language. Their bodies are much more robust and significantly stronger than those of the mainland, but lack the variety in intellect, weaponry, or tactics. Usually, they just storm a place with numbers and war machinery, or besiege their enemy until they run out of resources. One of their most notorious tactics is to lure the enemy into the heart of their army and to then surround them. In comparison to those of the mainland, their culture is also a little more primitive, rarely ever taking human prisoners if at all, and their resources are much more limited, evidenced by the lack of armor for orcs and their crude weaponry for those below the class of elite. But not everything is death, blood and conquest for them. They also like to gather at bonfires, make music, dance, eat, drink, share moments with their friends, all that stuff. Generally, it seems like the Khorinis-Orcs are much more similar to a caste system than their mainland counterparts. Most of the Khorinis-Orcs are hunters or warriors. Those that can use magic become shamans. At least those that are noticed by other shamans. When a shaman notices an orc's talent for magic, he will take said orc as an apprentice, and after several years of hard training, the apprentice might join the ranks of a shaman. From here on, we move into major spoiler territory, so if you haven't played Gothic 1 and still plan on doing so, quit the video right now. You have 5 seconds to do so. You can actually befriend one of the Khorinis-Orcs, a shaman with the name of Hosh-Pak. Through him you find out that they are very honorable people, and if you know how to approach them, they are actually friendly. They're not gonna take your shit, of course, so if you do something wrong, you're gonna be dead, plain and simple. But as long as you stick to their rules and know how to approach them, they actually welcome you with open arms. Ever since the release of Gothic 2, there seems to be a bit of confusion in regards to the more primitive orcs in Gothic 1 compared to the more medieval ones in Gothic 2. And while there are no directly confirmed reasons for this, I think I can speculate something together. As we know, the tribal orcs in Gothic 1 that we can see were separated from the rest of their tribe through the barrier. Before the events of Gothic 1, there was a large conflict among the Khorinis-Orcs. The point of contention was whether or not they should worship Hosh-Pak, an archdemon who was summoned 1,000 years ago by their banished ancestors.
Old brothers, today enemies. Be 5 brothers, be many winters ago. Be sons of spirit, like Hosh-Pak. Call Hosh-Pak. One defeat clan of enemy. Brothers that give heart to Hosh-Pak. But Hosh-Pak be bad. Hosh-Pak curse all who build temple. Brothers have no heart. Be dead and live. Be both. Hosh-Pak curse all. Workers too. Be all dead and live. Both at same time. Brothers today worship Hosh-Pak. Hosh-Pak gets sacrifice, so no become bad.
Hosh-Pak was in favor of worshipping the demon. Hosh-Pak opposed this. For opposing his former mentor, Hosh-Pak was banished. Afterwards, he was taken prisoner inside the barrier by the humans, where, after he escaped from slavery, he was continuously hunted by those that worshipped Hosh-Pak. One important detail here is that the orcs did not argue whether to worship Hosh-Pak or Beliar. They were instead arguing whether it is a good idea to worship a demon out of pure fear. To be fair, this demon is literally the physical manifestation of Beliar, so fearing this thing, which is the most powerful creature by far ever seen in the Gothic universe, was more than justified in my point of view. They argued whether to worship Hosh-Pak not for rewards, but how to stay alive the best way possible. Back to the point I was actually trying to make. With all this information, in addition to the fact that Hosh-Pak was never inside the barrier, it is reasonable to assume that the orcs seen in Gothic 1 were like a cult, a religious offspring of the main tribe, living near Hosh-Pak's temple for centuries, even more primitively, though still holding on to the values of honor. So when Hosh-Pak's temple collapsed and the barrier vanished, the Khorinis-Orcs were united once again. But where exactly was Hosh-Pak's temple? Well, that one is a story for another day.